Hello, I'm Mike Duncan. Katie and Nathan asked me to let you know that they use strong language in this show, so if you don't like that, then this won't be the show for you. If you want to listen to a show where there's only a mild amount of foul language, but is still focused on history, you can always check me out at the Revolutions podcast or my old show, The History of Rome. So again, if you are in a position where you cannot do strong language, now is the time to bail. But if you're in a position where you can do strong language, then by all means, keep listening.
Hi, this is Katie.
And this is Nathan.
And you're listening to Queen's Podcast, the show about badass women in history. Hey, Nathan.
Darling.
Hello, darling. How are you?
Fantabulous.
Fantabulous.
Oh. Fierce, darling.
Oh.
Fierce.
I love it.
I feel like I need to be in a moo-moo right now.
I mean, what's stopping you? Moo-moo it up, bitch.
Please stop the recording. All right.
Pause. And Nathan is back, and he is in a fabulous moo-moo.
So how has your week been, Katie?
Well, last time we recorded, I was still in dry January. I am no longer in dry January.
But now she's wet.
Well, that's a little bit personal, Nathan, but okay. But Nathan, who are we talking about today?
Jadwiga.
Jadwiga of the Jadwiga of Poland, King of Poland. I think this is technically our first king that we've covered.
I'm living for every moment of this.
Yes. This is such a fun story. I'm so excited to get into it. But first up, we got two things to cover. One, we got some Patreon shout-outs.
Yeah, so shout-outs to Jill, Sophie, Jules, Ashley, Lauren, Jennifer, Riley, Tina, Alicia, and Laura.
Yes, and thank you to all of our Patreon supporters and everyone that listens to the show. We love
do it without you.
You are each individual snowflakes, and we love you so much. And now, Nathan, tell us about this cocktail. I have feelings.
I have loads of feelings. So it is, I took 1.5 ounces.
What's the name of it?
Oh, it's the Polish martini.
For our Polish king, girl king.
Yes. So I took 1.5 ounces of vodka, 1.5 ounces of bison grass vodka,
which was new to me.
New to me too, because it was okay. So bison grass vodka. Obviously, I have feelings, and it is rice vodka with a piece of bison grass.
So I had to look it up before I committed to drinking this cocktail, because as a vegetarian, I was like, does it have beef in it? What does bison grass mean? But it's just literally the kind of grass that the bison eat.
Yeah, and they can't make this grass anywhere else. Like, they can't cultivate it anywhere else in the world except
for
in
Poland?
this one area. Yeah.
Interesting.
And so they take one blade of grass and they put it in the vodka and let it soak. Interesting.
I'll be damned.
So I took 1.5 ounces of bison grass vodka with that 1.5 ounces of vodka and 1.5 ounces of honeysuckle liqueur, which new fave, by the way. And then 2 ounces of apple juice.
Okay.
So, guys, it tastes like the Apple Jacks cereal.
It does. It really does.
Like, it tastes spicy but appley, and I think that's what that grass vodka does, is it gives it this weird spicy earthy flavor.
Okay.
That's bizarre. That tastes like grass.
Anyway,
we're talking about Jadwiga of Poland. So she was born, and we have no idea when.
We think, like, we don't know the month, so we can't make any guesses at her sign or anything, but most likely she was born in 1373 in Buda, Hungary, which is part of modern-day Budapest. But this particular place was like its own city back then in Hungary.
So let's talk about her family. Her dad was Louis the First, King of Hungary and Poland. Though the family lived like primarily in Hungary at the time.
Yeah.
So Daddy-O is a pretty cool guy.
He seems like a cool guy to me. Like, he seemed pretty
progressive.
Yeah, at least about gender shit. I mean, I didn't look into him too deeply on how he felt about minorities or anything, but as far as being pro-female, yeah, he seems pretty cool.
Yeah, and I don't want to know his stance on racism because I'm pretty sure
because it's the 1300s.
Great.
No,
it's not great. But he believed that peasants should have rights and should be able to do stuff too, which super duper progressive at the time.
For the time, for someone in the nobility to be like, maybe we should like allow the peasants to talk without getting the shit beat out of them, was incredibly forward thinking.
So Jadwiga's mother was Elizabeth of Bosnia. Might have her own Patreon show.
Stage mom of medieval Poland, but go on.
Yes. 3 daughters, no sons. And those daughters are Catherine, Mary, and Jadwiga. Like,
that's just so, like, of the time, Catherine and Mary. We've talked about so many Catherine and Marys. And then Jadwiga? How did that
stand out somehow?
She does. She definitely stands out name-wise. How did they choose that name?
So she was named after some distant relative who's also a saint. Saint Hedwig.
Yeah.
Basically.
And Hedwig is German version of Jadwiga.
Yes, correct. So Jadwiga, Hedwig, tomato. Let's call the whole thing off.
Yeah.
Let's call the whole thing off.
We're going to say Jadwiga because that's how they say it. I hope I'm getting it right. But that's how they say it in Poland, where she is now the patron saint of. So we're going to say Jadwiga, but if you've heard of her story and she's called Hedwig, same person.
Religion. We have to talk religion if we're talking anybody's upbringing.
Yeah.
Very, very pious. Hungary became a Christian country in the 11th century. But by the time our girl hits the scene, very, very religious.
Pro-popa.
Pro-popa.
Pro-popa. Like a pope. Poland. Or Hungary. Yeah. When it became clear that Louis wasn't going to have any sons, he was like, Poland, Hungary, let's have a quick talk. I'm going to need y'all to promise that you're going to support my daughters as rulers. Mm-hmm. So he starts to like shop around for like promising husbands for these daughters. Pretty aggressively, actually, because, their husbands are going to play a big role in leadership in the countries as well.
Also, stage mom was pushing this as well.
And also, yes, her stage mom, Queen Elizabeth, was also probably in the background being like...
But not him.
Hey, but this guy. But not this guy. But this... also, I don't have this in the notes, but it seems like her parents may have actually been a love match.
Oh, that's refreshing.
I read in one source that she had a miscarriage really early into their marriage. And it was a child that was conceived before they were actually married.
Ooh, drama.
And so then they had to get married. So it seems, and this is all, like, I didn't dig into if that's actually real, but it indicates that this may have been actually a love match, which is refreshing. We don't get that all the time.
We never get that, ever.
But no, so Daddy's shopping around being like, I need to set you guys up with powerful husbands to help you run these countries in the future.
A little bit on her religion, her upbringing on that. We've got stage mom and stage dad sitting in the background. So let's talk about her education.
Yes.
She's edumacated. That's
Educated the fuck out of her.
So religion, philosophy, language, music, like the whole 9 yards.
Mhm.
And her mother is a stage mom. Very hands-on schooling. Everything's kind of like controlled from the background.
But I love that because a lot of times in nobility, you read about these parents who just sort of like send them off to be educated and like they don't really touch it.
At their uncle's house. Like,
Yeah.
It's just some random thing.
Yeah, or just some random guy that's educating a bunch of other children of the nobility. They say, even though the books don't survive anymore, it's believed that Queen Elizabeth actually wrote the textbooks that would educate her daughters. So I kind of love that. It's giving me Isabella Castile vibes.
Yeah.
Where she's actually like so involved. Like she was so concerned. Like my daughters need to know everything. And these girls spoke at least 6 languages, at least that are documented.
Giving me Cleopatra vibes.
Right? So they would have definitely spoke Hungarian, Polish, Siberian, German, Bosnian, and Latin. And I love that because it's practical. Because we see a lot of queens like Catherine of Aragon. She was going to be sent to England to marry the king, the Prince of England. But no one ever taught her English. But this one, they're like, okay, you are from a ruling family in Hungary, so obviously you got to speak Hungarian. You're also the ruling family of Poland, so you got to speak Polish. Like, it seems like they made these choices deliberately, and I love that.
These are choices that we do like.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So she probably even spoke more than just the 6 languages.
These are just the languages we know, yeah.
So it seems like her life was pretty chill. She's
chilling.
Yeah, she lived in Hungary where the royal family, pretty popular. Mother was super hands-on, stage mom, and her parents loved each other, like we said. They liked each other. They seemed to be in love, so she's not doing too shabby.
It's a good start. We've read about people with worse start. Remember Catherine de Medici?
Oh, that shit was rough.
That shit was rough.
So when Jadwiga was all of 2 years old, she was engaged. Guys, babies don't need jobs. We've already established that.
Babies don't need jobs?
Babies don't need marriages.
Babies don't need husbands. Tell your mom.
Tell your mom.
Babies don't need jobs. Babies don't need husbands. Spread the word.
So she was promised to William of Austria, the son of a powerful duke. And in 1378, when our girl was 4 years old, she and William were bewitted, y'all.
Yeah.
They went to Vegas. They got married. Elvis.
The old Elvis, yes. I was a little confused by this because it doesn't appear that they had. We've talked about proxy marriages a lot in the show.
Yes. Where
they actually have the wedding ceremony and somebody stands in as proxy. It doesn't
like your
seem,
mom.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like that was the case here, though. It seems like in this, it was just all through paperwork. And it was basically like, okay, we've done so much paperwork that you guys are married. And all they had to do...
They're so done with it. They're like, where do I have to sign again? I'm over it.
It was so much paperwork that they were like, let's just forego the ceremony. But basically their contract came down to, once you guys are finally of age, because if she's 2, then he's like 7, because I think he was only like 5 years older than her, maybe even less. Like, they're still both babies. Babies don't need wives or husbands or jobs. But the way that their marriage contract worked out was, once they consummated their marriage, they didn't need to have any more ceremonies. Once they banged it out, then they were husband and wife. How weird is it that your dad is talking about you in the future having sex.
It's so weird. I don't like this journey for her. I don't.
But her sister Mary was also betrothed at a young age, just like her, to this guy named Sigismund. And he was the son of the Holy Roman Emperor. And what is the Holy Roman Empire, Nathan?
It's a state of mind.
State of mind. Anyway, so Louis is like, you set, we're all set. And hey guys, everyone in Poland and Hungary, y'all are going to recognize my daughter Mary as my heir when I die. Poland at first was like, no. And then he was like, well, then I will give everyone in Poland a big tax break. And then they were like, yes.
Yes. That's usually how it works.
I mean, to be fair. Yeah.
I would deal with that.
As a tax-paying person, when someone's like, I'm going to get a tax break, I'm like, tell me more. Say more things.
So let's fast forward to 1382, and Jadwiga is 8 years old, and her father gets super duper ill. We don't know a whole lot about her relationship with her father, but it seems like she and her sister and mom were with him when he passed, so they're probably closer than the average.
Yeah, because a lot of the people that we've talked about on this podcast, when the person they inherited their title dies, they're maybe like at a whole other location. So to see that she was actually like at her father's deathbed, I think gives us a lot of insight into their family dynamic.
Mm-hmm. So after Daddy's funeral, her mom Elizabeth was like, "Oh my God, we got so much shit to do." Direct quote.
Direct quote. Well, but to be fair, I mean,
yes.
Whenever someone dies, there's a lot of shit to do. Like when someone in your immediate family passes away, there is a lot of shit to do, is what I'm getting at.
Well, usually there's like a mourning period too, right? Like everybody kind of needs a week or two off to be super duper sad, but
not with this. Mom, not whenever you're the child ruler of a country.
Not whenever
of two countries.
Stage mom.
Yeah,
like,
also that. Yeah.
Mama's like, nope. Jadwiga's older sister, Mary, needs to be crowned. Bitch. Now, crown it. Crown it.
So much. They crown her so quickly. Like, yeah, usually you'd wait a couple of weeks, but she's like, no, coronation now. And the reason is, you remember her fiance, Sigismund of Luxembourg, who I'm going to call Siggy, can't you see? Sometimes your words just hypnotize me. He's very, very ambitious, and he wanted to be crowned as co-ruler.
Oh,
and
no.
Mama Elizabeth is like, we can't have that. And so Mary is crowned on her own before their marriage like officially took place. Pretty smart.
She beat him to the punch.
Basically.
Yes.
She's always thinking one step ahead. This woman, I think.
That's why I love her.
Yeah.
So in Hungary, there's no word for a female monarch because in English, you have a queen, and the queen rules on her own. But in Hungary, a queen meant like you're married to the king.
To the king,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, you're a consort. So we couldn't really call her a queen since she wasn't the primary consort right at that point. So she was actually crowned king.
11-year-old girl, king of Hungary. # baby girl king. Which I'm gonna try to make that shit trend. So Poland was, I mean, it's part of Europe, but they were not into being ruled by the Holy Roman Emperor at all. And they were not interested in Siggy, can't you see, whatsoever. They're like, what's your plan B here? Well, also because Sigismund was a little bit older than Mary. And so he was already like being a little bit of a war dick,
Oh, we love those.
Mm. And so he had actually been sent to Poland once or twice to squash rebellions.
Oh, and so he had a bad PR in that area.
Because he wasn't nice when he was aggressive, like more aggressive than was actually needed when he went in and squashed those rebellions. Already the people in Poland had a bad taste in their mouth for Siggy, 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 can't you see? Sometimes your words just make me want to vomit, They didn't like
him. But at the end of the day, like, the people of Poland were like, if he becomes ruler, we're gonna, like, revolt. For real.
For
like,
real.
And so Mama Elizabeth is like, okay. I'm stage mom. I've got this. I've got the drama. Mary will stay here in Hungary and she'll rule. And I will send you guys my youngest daughter, Jadwiga, and she'll rule. So Polish people are kind of on the fence right now. But yeah, they're like, okay, fine. We'll try it. We'll give it a try. So we have no idea how this conversation went down, but
right.
Can you fucking imagine?
She's 8 years old. And it's like, hey, honey, I know you've only ever lived in this one city in your entire life. And I know your dad just died. Super sorry. I'm going to need you to go to this whole other country and be ruler of this whole other country by yourself. I'm not coming. Your sister's not coming. Just you. Bye. What?
She just wants to play tea time. Like, she just wants to pour some tea for her friends.
8 years old. What were you doing at 8? I was just running in my backyard and jumping on my trampoline.
I know. I think I had, like, Superman underwear at that time. Like, I was a baby.
8 years? Babies don't need to be king. I don't know.
It was so genuine.
It was. Well, and also, she's also sending her daughter to a country that hasn't even decided if they're going to accept this. They're like, yeah, send her over on a trial basis. What could possibly go wrong?
So it's like a 60-day trial. Like, you can return
yes,
your
that is
cash
so
back
stressful. And also,
oh my God.
I mean, back then, you couldn't hop on a private jet. That's a really scary journey. Yeah, which brings us to, I actually put in Google Maps. If you're traveling from Budapest to Krakow in Poland, if you take a plane, it's only like an hour. But if you drive, you actually have to drive completely across, like, the country that's in between them. Because there's this mountain range. Sweet baby Jadwiga is not taking a plane because they didn't have them in the 1300s.
Oh, you heard it here first.
Groundbreaking news.
They did not have
planes in the 14th century. Nope. So she's having to go over by, like, carriage and horse over this horrible, like, very dangerous mountain range. We talked about in the Eleanor Aquitaine episode where it's like rich, noble women traveling are always like they might get kidnapped.
Human trafficking.
Basically, they might get kidnapped and forced into a marriage. Her mother put it off for 2 years. She didn't have to travel till she was 10.
Ugh.
She had 2 years from 8 to 10 to mature, but now she's traveling across. It's just very scary.
I can see that because there's lots of bad people with bad intentions that want to, like, IDK, kill her.
But no, can you imagine though? Can you imagine?
I can't. Like, you're leaving your family, you're leaving your mother. You're going on this super dangerous journey to be a ruler of a country that you've never even seen before. And they're kind of, like, already pissed off at you.
Right!
For no reason.
That is Under Pressure.
Under
Pressure. Yes, exactly.
We don't know when she left Hungary, and we don't know when she arrived in Poland, but we do know a little bit about her reception whenever she was arriving.
I do have to imagine she'd be nervous. Like, are they going to love me? Are they going to hate me? Are they going to throw tomatoes at me?
Are they going to kidnap me?
Are they going to kill me? Yeah. You laugh, but it's probably like an actual concern of hers.
I know, it's awkward laughter. So everyone that was important, like the A-list people, were all there to receive her. Love, excitement, like everything's amazing.
So she was received in like positively?
Yes.
Well, I love that.
I know. She
rocked up and people liked her? Yeah.
Yeah, she had to have been nervous. And then for people to be like, well, receiving of her. And guys, remember, she's 10 years old. She's a baby. So it was a relief for the people of Poland. You know, this poor baby traveled years and years to be able to get there. So they had no clear leader in place, like in the meantime. So there had been a lot of drama. So
yes, yeah, they did. There were all these other noblemen that were like fighting for. Like, the leader from Hungary is never coming. So they were like fighting over who was gonna
dick waving contest.
They were dick waving hard.
Yeah, like I have more money than you do.
And so then when she finally arrives, it just kind of put a little bit of peace in place. Some much needed peace. Yeah.
Eased the tension because they have a figurehead. They have somebody that is the leader. So even if she's just a little girl,
at least there's somebody to like put the crown on their head and stop the fighting.
I wish that people would say this about me every day.
Yeah.
Like, just put the crown on his head.
Just put the crown on his head. It's fine.
So on October 16th, 1384, she had her coronation, which is French for coronation.
Okay,
and this is very similar to her sister's own coronation. So they rush it a little bit. I feel like create a sense of urgency is very stage mom. But
she has a fiance also from the European royalty who's probably rushing up there to Poland to claim his crown. So they're like, we got to crown her before he can get here.
Yeah, they don't need some Austrian guy who just doesn't know anything about Poland showing up and running everything. So our girl is now officially king of Poland.
So we've got two sisters who are both being king of these two major countries. That is wild. So our girl is now officially king of Poland as an 11-year-old. And this seems like a good place to take a quick little break.
Let's go.
And we're back. Back at it again.
So we last left our girl crowned king of Poland. We love our non-conforming,
non-binary, non-gender conformant. I do kind of love it. It feels very modern, right?
I know.
That she was king of Poland. I like it.
She's a gender fluid king of Poland at 11 years old, honey.
I love it. I don't love the 11 years old part of it, but
because babies still don't need jobs.
Don't need jobs.
So happy to tell you that Jadwiga was actually loved in Poland almost immediately.
Breathe a sigh of relief, right? Like she carried herself as such a more experienced person.
As an 11-year-old.
So she's 11, carrying herself with the experience of a 30-year-old, basically, which really resonated with the people. And on top of that, she's smart and pious. Everyone in Poland is like, yes, Jadwiga. They're into it.
Oh, that sounded like a soccer game.
They're doing some sports.
Sports
chants.
I wish you could see Katie trying to like root on.
Do a sports thing.
They're sportsing.
Jadwiga. Do the thing. Good at sports.
So the fact that she spoke Polish, like from the get-go, that went a long way for her.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, bitch, she did her homework. Like,
which honestly to us seems like the bare, like the bars on the floor.
You were trying to get a C in linguistics. Yeah, you're just trying to pass.
To us, it seems like obviously she would speak the language, but not always. So good for her.
So another thing that she did that really made people love her was right away super duper charitable. Like
yes.
Giving. Orphanages, check. Shelters, check. Poor people, check.
Check. Yes.
There was this one story that there was a man that she came across begging for money. So she bent down and took the golden buckle off of her shoe, gave it to him, and he was able to feed his family for a month.
I mean, that's also a conversation about, like, you know...
privilege.
Yes.
Privilege. That's what privilege is.
But also, she has gone down in history as this incredibly charitable person who would do, like, bend over backwards to...
Well, bend over to her shoe.
Bend over frontward to her shoe and get... But that's not necessarily something that we could say about very many other royal people that we covered. Their reputation goes into they were so pious, they gave so much to the community that they literally took their possessions off themselves to give to the poor.
I love it.
I love it too.
So she also started going to church, and this is something that I love too. And Catholic Church, y'all, is in Latin at the time, and no one knows what the hell he's saying.
Yeah, they're in Poland, just being like, "Yeah, sure, what? I guess we like it. I don't know."
Qu'est-ce que c'est? Like literally, what is this guy preaching, y'all?
They don't know.
And she ends up implementing a new rule and says, "You know what? These sermons need to be in Polish so that the common person can understand it." OMG, so revolutionary.
And the thing is, she spoke Latin. And you see this a lot in medieval royal courts. Everyone that's of the nobility spoke Latin. So they go to church.
It's a class thing.
Exactly. They go to
thing.
Church and they speak Latin and all their friends speak Latin. And it's like, well, we know what they're saying.
Latin.
But like the commoners are just like, we have to assume that we agree with what they're saying because and so she steps in and she's like, no, hold up, wait a minute, put some Polish in it, you know, like make it make sense to them, you know?
Oh my God, I just want a Polish sausage real bad.
But no, I love that because that endears her to the commoners.
Yeah, but she may have been popular, but guess who wasn't?
Her husband, fiance situation, yeah.
Yeah, William finally arrives in Poland and totally expects to consummate the marriage and like him to be the Polish leader.
Because I mean, she's a woman, so she couldn't possibly rule on her own.
Because he
needs to step in and become actual king of Poland.
Your uterus takes up so much blood to your
that
brain.
Uterus, it just wanders around. It could be up in your chest, and you wouldn't even know it.
So, Jadwiga is conflicted because she likes William. She's like, hey, I could have found the type of guy that I've never met before.
It reminds me of Catherine of Aragon and remember Arthur Tudor. Yes. They had been exchanging letters their whole lives. And so this is the same kind of situation. She has been writing to this man,
pen pals.
This boy. Yeah, pen pals. They've been pen pals their entire life.
Anyway, William of Austria shows up and is like, I'm here. I need to bone. immediately.
Because
And-
that's how he becomes king of Poland.
Yeah, and to be fair, it said that they needed to bone in the agreement.
Right,
Like,
right. Yeah.
Legally. So
Legally, they
just-
needed to bone. Yeah.
He would have been 14. Jadwiga would have been 11.
So that's how I feel about that. Official
One more
Queen's
time,
podcast. Okay. So now we don't know exactly how she felt about this. But some tellings of the story goes that she was really eager to meet William, which I think makes sense. Like we said earlier, they've been exchanging letters their entire life, but the Polish nobles were like, nope, whole bunch of nope. And they locked her up and they were like, no, you cannot be left alone with this man.
So there's a couple different stories here. One that Jadwiga tried to escape, found an axe, and tried to fight off guards. And
She's like, I'm going to get to my mail. And she's got the axe and everything.
That wood. Katie's like, hashtag same. In that story, apparently the ladies in waiting calm her down and are like, girl, you need to do what's best for Poland, and marrying this guy
is
not
not
be the best.
It's not the thing. It's
but
not the thing.
it caused some turmoil. Yeah, caused some issues.
So the Polish really want her to marry this guy named Jogaila. And he was the Grand Duke of Lithuania. And they were just like, no, this is going to be better for us. Don't marry this European dude. Marry this guy from Lithuania. It's going to be better for the country. All right, so she's going to marry this guy named Jogaila, who is from Lithuania.
And when she was first told that they wanted to marry this guy, she was like totally disgusted.
And not because she was like 12 and
he was like 20s, 30s-ish.
We don't know his exact birth date. But by this time, he was at the youngest 25 and at the oldest 35. And she's still 11.
And it wasn't even about age. It wasn't even about age.
Mm-mm.
It was because he wasn't a Christian. It literally, like, this super religious girl is like, excuse me, what? You want me to marry a pagan?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
No. I'm sorry, out. I'm out.
Mm-mm.
I think that was a direct quote.
Direct quote, I'm out. Then she goes and talks to her priest. They want me to marry this pagan. And he's like, I don't know, girl, maybe pray on it. And this is how she becomes a saint. She prays on it.
She prays.
And I pray. Remember Bone Thugs and Harmony?
Yes,
and I pray. Every day. Meet you at the crossroads. So she is praying. So she's Bone Thugs and Harmonying her ass off. To her surprise, Jesus appears to her. And he's like, me, girl. And she's like, girl, what? And he's like, you need to marry this guy from Lithuania. And she's like, why? He's not even a Christian. And he's like, because then all these other people are going to become Christian. And she's like,
oh,
I guess I'll do it. And God's like, I've told you to do it, so you have to. And she's like, I got it. So that's the story of...
I can just imagine, like, I'm just imagining, like, girl, what are you doing?
Girl,
OMG.
what are you doing?
So here's the thing. Lithuania and Poland had been fighting. They were on again, off again. And they've been fighting for years. And they are over it. And they have a common enemy. And there was this group of these zealot knights, and they were called the Teutonic Order. And the Teutonic
Remember that name.
The Teutonic Order was annoying to Poland. They were really fucking some shit up in Lithuania too. So they were just like a whole hot mess.
They were being aggressive as fuck in Lithuania.
So Jogaila was like, look, I'm your king, and I'm just gonna like casually change the national Lithuanian religion to Christianity. Yeah. So Jogila and all the other Lithuanian royalty were baptized, and just a few days later, the 12-year-old Jadwiga and the 25-ish, 35-ish old Jogila was married in a Catholic ceremony. So now they are king and king of Poland. So, like, he's king of Lithuania, she's king of Poland.
So they ruled as co-ruler. You hear a lot about this in history where it's like, actually, the man ruled, even though it was like a female cohabitation project. But actually, it seems like Jadwiga actually did so much of the ruling. She had so much power, and she had so much adoration from her people, which I think is incredibly important.
Obviously, there's the age issue.
Yeah.
She doesn't speak the language at first, but...
She learns it, as we've seen, is not a problem for her. Yeah.
She learns it, honey.
Yes!
So, everything that was passed from here forward was underneath both of their names.
Yes, exactly. And he never tried to overpower her.
Uh-huh.
And in turn, she always, like, looked to him. I just feel like they had a very respectful relationship.
That's refreshing.
How nice is that? How nice is that? Yeah.
We don't get that. But now we want to talk about the B plot.
B-plot.
Jadwiga thriving, living her best life, but what's
unexpectedly having the best time of her life in Poland.
And of course, everything has to go to shit after that. So she gets some real bad news from mom and sister. We don't have the time to dive into it all, but the story is that the King of Naples tried to overthrow Mary as ruler of Hungary.
Rude. So,
of course, stage mom stabs him to death.
I mean, as any good stage mom would do.
So the Queen of Naples at this point just had her husband stabbed to death. So she's kind of pissed. And she's like, hey, how about we kill Elizabeth? So stage mom gets killed.
And if you guys want to hear more about that story, I think we're going to... Nathan, should we talk about that on Patreon?
Possibly. King Mary is vulnerable at this point. So she's like, I need to marry my boy Siggy. Okay,
can't you see sometimes?
Sigismund wasn't as progressive as Jogila. He's like, okay, but that uterus. Siggy, oh, can't you see? He's like, you know what? I don't like that Poland is being co-ruled by a guy who's not even a real Christian. He's not a Christian.
But he's been baptized. I mean, like, what else does a bitch gotta do, you know? So, Siggy enrolls the Teutonic Order. And, like, I think we touched upon them earlier. And they're just this group of knights that are out and about to, like, fuck up anybody that's not Christian. And it's not...
Knights Templar.
Like they're not chill, though. What is the opposite of chill? And it's this group of guys. This is where we learn something, in my opinion, that's really interesting about Jadwiga. She was like a really talented mediator. She hated the idea of war. And she hated the idea of her people being at war and losing their life. And she became a very talented mediator. So she has a family reunion.
Yeah, so sisters, husbands, they're all hashing it out. For a time, it was effective, and there's, like, no war. But family reunion. She got to see her sister. How nice.
How nice is that? They haven't seen each other about 9 years or something?
Before they became kings. So, 1393, Jadwiga has been in Poland for 9 years. Sisters got to spend time together, which, great.
Yeah.
Being that we know that they're such, like, a tight-knit family, this is, how awesome would that be?
Right.
Super cathartic, too. Like, super cathartic for Jadwiga. She lost her mom, so she gets to see her sister. So it's like this whole family love fest.
And then they also, make peace between their two countries. So it's a win-win.
But then sadly, 2 years later, Mary dies when she falls off a horse.
But Ziggy, can't you see? Is like, okay, you know what? I guess this whole land is mine now. I am now officially ruler of Hungary. And he does a little dance.
But in actuality, like Jadwiga, she was her sister's heir. So she was supposed to be king of both Hungary and Poland now, not Siggy. But Sigismund wasn't into that. So he calls up the Teutonic Knights and is like, let's take Poland and Hungary. It'll all be mine.
And then he goes to claim that Poland is his again. And Jadwiga puts an end to the war.
Again. She is such a talented,
negotiator. So Jadwiga and her man are like, Siggy, look, okay. We're technically the kings of Hungary now, not you. We don't have time. We have 2 other countries over here that we're trying to run. So why don't you just keep it? So Sigismund is just kind of kept being the king of Hungary.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, look, we don't want to fight and we just don't have time. So you just do this for us. Thanks a lot, buddy.
So it just seems like she had this really level head throughout all of this. She was always the calming person in the tense situation.
Right?
Because when you're negotiating, you have to be able to take everybody's different point of view. And she was very good at that, even to the point of being like, hey, you want to keep my lands? Fine, here, they're yours. Yeah, go for it.
Okay, fine, you can have them.
Over the next few years, Jadwiga and Jagela continue to be pretty popular.
Yeah, Jadwiga put most of her focus into charity for the poor. I love this storyline for her. I'm going to build hospitals, churches, colleges. I am going to make sure that it's just not the rich getting the advantages. We love to see it.
To this day, this time in Polish history is considered to be the golden age. So this is when they were living their best life. Yes,
I believe it. Yes. I believe it.
When Jadwiga was 24, she got preggers. And it makes me think that maybe Jagela wasn't super bonehard with her at the beginning.
Which, how refreshing.
Yeah.
But she didn't become pregnant until she was 24.
But 24, I mean, she's been an adult for quite some time.
Yeah.
There probably been some worries that maybe she just wasn't blessed with being able to have babies.
Which happens.
Yes.
But, so when she finally did end up pregnant, it was party time in Poland.
It was the best
everyone
baby
was
shower ever.
Yes. It wasn't a sprinkle. It was a full shower.
She got gifts on gifts on gifts from lords and ladies from all over the world.
One of the gifts that she received was a silver cradle, which when I look at that, I'm like, that doesn't seem nice. I'm sure it was because we bougie, but also a baby's not going to be comfortable.
Yeah, I don't know if I would feel
silver cradle.
I don't know if I'd be comfortable sleeping with a silver rod on my butt. That's the only time. There's a lot to unpack there.
There's a lot to unpack there. Anyway.
And in June 1399, Jadwiga gave birth to a little girl, and they were real inventive with names. So they named her after her stage mom, Elizabeth.
Well, she loved her mother. I think she very deeply loved her mother. And the Pope stood as godfather. So is there anything more bougie than the Pope being I'm the Pope. I'm the godfather.
I'm going to give you pasta. Baby Elizabeth, unfortunately, was born very premature, and the birth was difficult. And Jadwiga was pretty much bedridden for weeks, but her health seemed to be on the up and up. Yeah. She's getting better-ish. As you can tell in the sound of my voice, this might not be okay. But sadly, baby Elizabeth died at 3 weeks old, and it seems whatever fight that Jadwiga had at the point just was gone.
Yeah.
Her health took a nosedive after the death of her daughter, and on July 17th, 1399, Jadwiga, the King of Poland, love your nonconformist ways,
yes,
passed away. her dying wish was that Jogala marry a high-ranking Polish princess so he could keep ruling Poland. And at first, Jogala
He was like, no.
No,
He was
negative.
like, I'm not interested.
Like, I don't want to even be in Poland anymore. My wife's not here. Ugh, I'm going home.
He felt, I genuinely feel like he felt heartbroken at the end of their marriage.
But then,
Like, I think he loved her.
yeah. And then the Polish nobility, like, approached him and was like, hey, dude, we kind of like you. Will you please marry into our nobility?
And continue being our king. And he was like,
Fine. So he did. And he stayed on as the ruler of Poland for another 30 years. And he and his wife had one child.
they had a daughter named Hedwig, which is the German word for Jadwiga. I love that.
Cheers.
I love that. Even in his second marriage, he was like, no, Jadwiga got me here, you know?
Love it. So let's talk about her legacy, Katie.
Oh my God, this legacy. The University of Krakow was like a huge passion project for her. And when she died, she was like, take all of my jewels, take all of my furs, take all of my fancy clothes, and put it into money for the university. It was like a crumbling university at the time. And now, fun fact, the University of Krakow is the 13th oldest university in the world that's still going. Right?
So in 1997, canonized. But she was canonized as a saint, and she is now known as Saint Jadwiga. She is the patron saint of Poland, students, and mothers.
And she is remembered to this day as one of the most iconic rulers of Poland. So Nathan, let's raise a glass.
To the girl, king, non-transforming queen of Poland.
Yes! I love it. Cheers, bitches.